Bienvenue tous, you're watching France 24. Time now for our international press review in the papers today with Hélène Papert. Hélène, Pakistan, your starting point.
That's right. We're going to be talking about Pakistan. The press is making a lot of noise in Pakistan about a rather new figure, at least someone we hadn't heard of in a while, Benazir Bhutto's niece, and whether she's going to step onto the political stage or not. Fatima Bhutto, to be or not to be, that's the title of the article in the Pakistani paper, The News International, straight out of a Shakespeare's tragedy. You may remember that there was quite a bit of rivalry between Fatima and her aunt Benazir. She could be the next Bhutto and have to carry the Bhutto dynasty on her shoulders. She's been living in Pakistan for 25 years. The media is very interested in her ever since she granted two contradictory interviews last week to international papers. To The Guardian, basically, she said, "I'm not interested in politics. I don't like this whole dynasty, and I don't like the way that politics are organized in my country. I'd rather be an author or poet." But then the next day she turned around and she told The Times that politics was in her blood and that she could very well be considering moving up in those ranks. And so for the Pakistani paper, The News, they're basically saying that Fatima is soul-searching and that maybe she's under quite a bit of pressure back home.
Okay, what's next?
Next is Libération and Nicolas Sarkozy. In Libération, there have been quite a lot of articles recently about Nicolas Sarkozy's relationship with the French press. And then there's an article which basically says it all, Des médias pris au piège, media's trapped. Foreign correspondents have been coming out and speaking up about this relationship, which they qualify as a bit strange, between the French president and the French press. For Alex Krauss, he was once a correspondent at the International Herald Tribune. He's now a correspondent at Transatlantic Magazine. He says that Sarkozy has French journalists in their pocket, and he says he's using them to communicate rather than them using him for information.
That is a massive allegation that the press in France is in thrall or in the pocket of the president. That basically says there is no press freedom in France because they're all kowtowing basically Sarkozy's poodles.
That's what he's saying, and that's what also a few German foreign correspondents have come out to say. They've mentioned Sarkozy complaining to the German ambassador about their coverage of French politics, that it wasn't favorable enough. So that is the question, and the question as well is, and which he points to directly, is that the government is under tight presidential supervision, that journalists are having a hard time accessing ministers, accessing advisors, and what the question he poses, which is interesting, is what kind of journalism can you get out of this when access to sources is so limited?
I mean, certainly the laws in the UK allow the press to go a lot further and be a lot more daring in their methods of getting information and their way of putting things to government ministers and indeed to the Prime Minister. That doesn't seem to happen in France.
Definitely not this time around. It doesn't seem to happen. There does seem to be a lot more of a lock on what's going on.
Hélène, let's move on now to a final fishy story to
Absolutely. Moving away from to a more global issue. Do you like fish? Do you eat fish, Mark?
Love it.
You love it?
Salmon, trout, whatever, anything, you know.
And it's getting more and more expensive, you've noticed.
Yeah.
Well, did you also know that there are more and more pirates of the sea?
No, I didn't notice. I don't get to see that often, Hélène, no.
And that's because you eat so much fish.
Supermarket, yeah.
It's basically because of you. You eat fish, and therefore there are a lot of pirates of the sea going out there and fishing. This is in the New York Times.
Okay.
So it might not be the traditional pirate you're thinking of with the black eye patch, but nonetheless, their main activity is pirate fishing. According to this front page article, Europe's appetite for seafood is leading to illegal trading. Fish is now the most traded animal commodity on the planet. About 100 million tons of wild and farm fish are sold each year.
That's amazing stuff. My favorite fishy program is SpongeBob SquarePants. Bob l'éponge carré in French. Hélène, thank you very much for the International Press Review. Watching France 24. Stay with us.